Okay, can you hear me? Okay, so just to let you know, we are recording this session so that it can be posted up. We're going to talk a little bit about the quiz and a little bit about some of the assignments for the semester. So, to start with the quiz, we have chapters 4, 5, and 6. Let me bring up the quiz. Okay. So it's 50 points, just like the last quiz was, and you still have um, the one attempt to complete the quiz with unlimited time. When you go through the quiz, there are a couple open-ended questions the way there was in the first quiz. So, for example, there's a question that is worth 4 points. And so it's asking you for like 4 different things within that short answer. All of the multiple choice are worth 1 point. Let me see. I'm trying to see how many open-ended questions there are. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 open-ended questions. So kind of, they're called essay questions, but basically short answer questions. Those are, I think, all 4 points. Hold on. 4, 4, 5 points, 2 points. So I'm asking for 2 things. 8 points because you're going to list 8 different things. 2 points. And 4 points. So the point value tells you how many things you need to name under that. So like it asks for like stages of something and it's worth 4 points, you need to list 4 stages. 8 points, you need to list 8 stages or whatever the thing is. And then the rest, so what did I say? 7 open-ended questions, which leaves about 20 multiple choice questions. All of the questions come from the OQEs that you guys give me. And I posted those all together in Word documents in the announcements so that you have those to look at sort of all in one place. Let me see what else. The quiz is going to be open for the entire week. So it's going to close on Sunday. So I have it opening actually tomorrow. So it's open from tomorrow until Sunday. So it's due by Sunday, and all of the correct answers will be shown on Monday so that you can see if you missed any of the questions, what the answers would be. All right. So any questions about the quiz for this second quiz before we move on to some of the assignments? Okay. All right. So looking at the assignments, we have the experiential activity and paper. It's really important for the experiential activity that you let me know what your activity is so that we can talk about if there are any concerns involved, if there are any issues that might be presented. There might be certain ways to do it that, you know, for the safety of the community. So like if you're like, I've never been to a drag performance before, I want to go to a drag show, I want to make sure that your behavior is going to be respectful of the individuals who are there. And so it's not like you're invading creating a safe space of another group of individuals, but also wanting to make sure that you're being safe with the experiences that you choose. So definitely making sure that you're just kind of running it by me. I don't foresee anybody choosing anything that would be that much of an issue, but um, just kind of connecting beforehand would be really great. One of the things that the assignment requires is like a screenshot or a selfie or something like that of you participating in the event as sort of like proof of you having been there. There might be some situations where that's not quite possible, and that's okay. Just let me know. But you know, if you do attend an event or something like that, taking a selfie of yourself there, taking a screenshot of like maybe the flyer or invitation to the event, or like the Facebook notification that shows you like the event happening, you know, anything that can kind of help show that you were there, what the event specifically was or the thing was that you attended. In the paper, you should include why you chose the experience, what you felt like it would help you with, what preconceived notions you might have about the situation, the event, the people, whatever. Describe the experience itself. What was it like to be involved in it, to be there, to do whatever it is you're doing? And then reflect on, you know, afterwards on what the experience kind of meant to you, what you now have that's different than before you engaged in the activity, ways that it can help you as a counselor, and things like that. So this is, I think, a relatively straightforward assignment. I have the points. It's a total of 150 points. So the points are evenly distributed between section A, B, and C. So why did you choose this? What did you think you would learn? What was the experience like for you? And then what are your like reflections afterwards, are about equal points for the paper. Okay, so any questions about this assignment before we move on to the next assignment? Okay, so the next assignment is the sexual history interview activity and paper. So this one you already were assigned groups. I think that there might be one or two groups that are only two people. In that case, there wouldn't be an observer. And so I would expect that your interviewer and interviewee sections would be a little bit longer, just to kind of describe your experience in more detail since you didn't take the observer role. And you could even perhaps talk about what you think it would be like being an observer, or what you feel like, you know, that role could have helped you with, or you know, whatever, if you had been involved in that role. So this one, you don't have to take a significant amount of time doing the interviews. I think that some people did like maybe 20 minutes each person and rotated, so it took about an hour. That's fine. You don't have to ask all of the questions that are listed. They're just examples of areas and different questions you might want to ask. If there are questions that are uncomfortable for you to answer, go ahead and just say, like, I'm not comfortable answering that question, or this, like this specific group of questions, and you know, move on. That's fine. Also, I want to just make sure that within your group, anything that is shared is confidential in nature, and that you don't share it with other people. And I don't even want you to talk about those kind of specifics in your paper. So like, you can share your own stuff, like maybe what you talked about as the interviewee, but I don't want you to share specifics that another person asked about. And so as the interviewer or the observer, you could say, there were some areas that were asked about or the interviewee answered that made me feel a little uncomfortable, including like the section on masturbation. But I wouldn't want you to say, you know, the person I interviewed said this, this, and this about their experiences with masturbation and blah, 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 because that would be giving out way too much of their information. And that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm really looking for is what those three roles were like for you. So as the interviewer, which you may be doing that type of, you know, type of questions and stuff like that with a client, how did that make you feel? What made you most comfortable? What made you least comfortable? You know, as the interviewee, how are you feeling? So that you have some kind of understanding of what your clients might be feeling as you might be asking them those questions. And then as the observer, what did you notice? So that you could also take that seat back and reflect on what this kind of interview process could be like, when you're in that position. And so just really talking about your experiences, things you noticed, and all of that. And so the assignment prompt does have some specific questions that I want you to reflect on. And so make sure you're incorporating those in your write-up, so that, you make sure you hit all of those type of things. And so when you look at the point breakdown, this assignment is worth 200 points. And so each of your reflections are worth 60 points. So you want to make sure each of those areas is pretty well formed. And then, like I said, if you're not in the observer role, because there's only 2 of you in your group, each of those first sections would be worth 90 points. So you really want to make those pretty strong. And then 20 points of the grade is focused on the APA format. So you want to make sure your spelling and grammar is on point, sentence structure, use APA formatting, spacing. If you do cite any sources, you want to make sure that you're citing them appropriately, and all of that. So any questions on the sexual interview and the sexual history interview and paper assignments?
Yes, Dr. Christina,
Okay.
I do have a question about the just about the paper. So are you looking for, I guess I was a little confused about, okay, we do the we do all 3 of the roles, and we have our own observations, our own opinions, all of that. I guess I was a little confused about what exactly is supposed to be in our paper. Like, what are we supposed to cite if it's all just our opinion? And that's where I was struggling with.
Yeah, so you don't actually have to have any citations in it. There may be a situation, like, let me look at some of the questions. Like, one of the reflection questions is, what are the overt and covert messages in their interviews family regarding? Do you see like messages about sexuality, femininity, masculinity, gender roles? So if you wanted to, you could kind of cite a source that talks about overt and covert messages. Another question is about anxiety in your experience as an interviewer. You could potentially cite something that talks about anxiety with, mental health professionals or something like that. But this paper does not require that you cite any sources. It's just, if you do, make sure that they're cited appropriately. Otherwise, it's just about APA formatting. So making sure that your spacing, your font type and point is APA appropriate. You want to do like a cover page, things like that. Kind of do an introduction, your write-up of your reflections, and a conclusion. So just sort of structure it as an APA paper. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions about this assignment? Okay, so we're going to look at the paraphilia presentation. So this presentation, typically in a classroom setting, would be sort of like a PowerPoint presentation or a Prezi or something like that, where you would, teach the class for a half an hour on your specific disorder that your group got. Again, I think most of these groups are 3 people. Some of them have 2 people. Because we're not in a face-to-face setting, it makes it a little bit complicated, because, just simply handing in a PowerPoint presentation doesn't touch on the presentation part of it. Like, so how are you guys talking about this? Are you trying to engage the group in discussions or asking questions and stuff like that? In addition, if you all did it in PowerPoint format, then it would be me kind of taking, some information from those PowerPoints and putting them into your quiz. And so then your quiz would be, just based on those PowerPoints, which might not really get to everything that, really should be learned about the paraphilic disorders. And so I found Genially, I guess that's kind of how you pronounce it, but it's on the prompt. It's GENIAL.ly. which is a presentation that you can do. You can add your voice to it. You can add like multimedia type things in there. And then what it also has is the ability for you to kind of put a quiz in there. And so throughout your presentation, you don't have to do it just at the end. You can kind of ask quiz questions, about 5 questions or so, throughout the presentation. At the end slide, it would give the person who's participating in your presentation a thing that says like, of the 5 questions, you got this many right, or something like that. And then for quiz 4, you would be taking a screenshot of that you participated in, say, the voyeuristic disorder presentation. And when you sit down to do quiz 10, you would just upload that screenshot. So you want to make sure you're saving all of those screenshots. There's, let me see, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 different disorders. So you're going to be looking at 8 different presentations. You want to make sure that you're taking a screenshot of completing all of them and uploading that for your quiz, because your participation in everybody else's presentations are going to give you credit towards quiz 10. Quiz 4, which is on chapter 10 and the paraphilic disorders. And so I thought that this would kind of be an easier way to do that versus you guys having to have these questions on the quiz or having to submit questions based on your presentation so that I would then add them into the quiz. I figured this was kind of streamlining it. In addition, you'd be able to use more creative presentation styles. So when you join Genially, there's an option to do a paid for account. Don't do that. Do the free account. It still gives you lots of options for your presentation. It's pretty easy to use. I'm not really good at learning new things like that. But when I played on there just, for an hour or so, I was able to find a lot of things that you can do with it. And so it wasn't too bad. So when you go onto the assignment prop, your group members are found there, so you can check out who's in your group if you haven't already. It also gives you what you need to include in the presentation, so the etiology, the diagnosis, treatment, and implications for counselors, and whatever other kind of information you would want. You could have short videos. You can link articles or resources like online pages or things like that. And make sure, again, you want it to be about 30 minutes. And that's the other thing that Genially will do, is create an actual presentation that would be a length of time, whereas PowerPoint, someone could run through it in 2 minutes and someone, it might take 10 minutes or an hour or whatever. So it's a little harder to judge. With this, it'll be kind of set. And then the assignment prompt also goes through all of the CACREP accreditation standards that this is meeting, and takes you through the task stream assignment and how to submit that. So with task stream, you want to submit a PDF of your presentation. So with Genially, you can save it in a PDF format. So you want to upload that, and then you can also add the link for your actual presentation, so that whoever looks at your task stream kind of folder or whatever can also see the live presentation. And then finally, a rubric is added at the end that you can look at through Canvas. So the content of the presentation is going to count for 80 points. Any references that you use, making sure that you're citing those, is 20 points. Being able to show that all members participated in the presentation by having everybody in the group do some of the talking or whatever, is 20 points. Resources, which could be adding different websites and sources and articles and things like that, links to different things in there. You could also do some other kind of resource, like a handout that you would also send to the students, some kind of brochure or pamphlet or something like that. That's worth 20 points. Also using your creativity, kind of putting your heads together and doing something kind of fun or different, is 30 points. And then timeliness, so making sure that the presentation is between 20 to 25 minutes, knowing that, again, in a live setting, you would have about 5 minutes or so of discussion. Plus, you have no idea of how long it's taking the other students to do the quiz questions. And so that kind of gives a little bit of wiggle room to give people time to do that. So for a total of 200 points. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually go on Genially. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can kind of see how this works. I have to look up my password. Of course, I can't find it. Let me try something. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen. So you guys should be able to see my screen. So now I'm signed into Genially. What you want to do is you want to join as a teacher so that you have the ability to create these different presentations. See, there's an upgrade to premium. You don't have to pay for it. You can use the free account. That is just fine. When you come here, there's different things. There is one called presentation, but what I want you to do is a learning experience right here, because this is the one where you're going to be able to include a quiz into your presentation. So you do create. And then when you come here, there are some of these that are the premium membership. So obviously you're not going to be able to select those, but there's lots of different ones: basic quiz, Genial quiz, quiz video, some different kinds of presentations that you can select that are on the free membership. So you select one of them, and when it comes up here, you can see all of the different, oops. It's not letting me do it. The way my screen is right now, you can't see it, but down here, it gives you an option so that you can see all of the pages, so you don't have to scroll through them. But anyway, this gives you an idea of what it looks like. So you would add a question, you would have different answers that people could select. When they select the answer, it gives them a screen that says correct. They can move on to the next one, and so on. And then at the end of the presentation, it gives you one that says, like, you got this many questions out of this many correct, and that's the one that you would take the screenshot of if you're when you're reviewing other people's presentations. Yeah, so this screen that says result, it shows how many you got correct. Just take a screenshot of it, save it on your computer, and make sure that you have it when you sit down to take quiz 4. Any questions about this assignment or how it needs to be done in this program? If anybody knows of a program that does something similar to this, you can feel free to use a different program. This is just the one that I'm aware of, that you have the ability to create a presentation and then do questions so that it can assure that whoever's participating in your presentation has looked at your entire presentation, answered the questions, and then got to the end point. So if you know of another one, feel free to do that. Just make sure that it covers that base so that everybody can take a screenshot of the end of your presentation and submit it for the quiz. All right, so if there are no other questions about the quiz or the assignment, we'll end the meeting for today. And if you have any questions or anything, just feel free to message me with them, and then I'll post it up as an announcement with the answers so that everybody gets to see the questions that are being asked and gets the responses. I know that there has been a couple people who've turned in some of those assignments. That's awesome. I'm looking at them as they're being turned in, so that if anything is kind of missed or anything, I can let you know about it before the due date so that you can make any corrections you need to. So I'm not grading anything. I'm just looking at it right now, and giving you feedback if necessary. Other than that, good luck with the quiz this week. And I really look forward to reading your assignments when I get them. Hopefully your break week's this week, right? Or was it last week? Last week. Hopefully your break went really well. And just let me know if you have any questions or anything. Thank you for participating. And those of you who are watching this in the recording, thank you for watching. All right. Bye, everybody.